You having a good time in Atlanta? How cool was it to see the president yesterday? You know, that was a truly historic occasion for our association, but as Wayne said, it didn't come easy. A lot of you were with us at this event last year in Louisville, and he was just candidate Trump back then. But he was our candidate, and we were ready to fight like hell for the soul of this country. When we made the earliest endorsement in NRA history, the media said, quote, "We were buying deck chairs on Trump's Titanic." As the summer got on, it didn't get any easier, and the fight got uglier. I've never seen a more cutthroat, vicious, and hateful attempt to literally destroy a candidate. The media didn't just want to defeat Donald Trump. They wanted to leave him utterly disgraced. And there were times that you and I and all of us, this group, we were the only ones in America who had the guts to stand and fight for Donald Trump. Through it all, you never wavered in your commitment, and the commitment was to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment that protects and secures it all. So you spread the word, you kept the faith, you wrote the checks that put our message on the air, and when Election Day came, you stormed the voting booths in every corner of the country, and as a result, President Donald Trump joined us here in Atlanta. You deserve that. Thank you very much. You know, as well as it turned out, it's hard to imagine how bad it could have been. Think about it. When we met at this event last year, the Supreme Court was deadlocked 4-4, and your most basic right to defend yourself in your home with a firearm was in jeopardy. After 8 years of Obama leading from behind, we all saw it. ISIS was on the rise and slashing a bloody trail towards our doorstep, and our enemies didn't even pretend to fear us anymore. At home, a coldly calculated failure to enforce the law left the very concept of justice on the brink of collapse. As Wayne talked about, cities like Chicago became safe havens for killers, where nearly 4,000 people were murdered, all while Obama, their man, was president. And law enforcement everywhere, heroes who wake up every day willing to risk their lives for our safety, were left vulnerable by a despicable lack of support from their so-called leaders. And worst of all, the men and women who sacrificed the most for our freedom, our veterans, were treated with a carelessness and contempt that should forever stain the legacy of Barack Obama. The corruption, the dishonesty, all the elitism coming out of Washington, it had truly reached a tipping point. Imagine what this meeting would have been like had we lost. Imagine the media fawning over Hillary Clinton's newest Supreme Court justice, maybe Chuck Schumer, maybe Eric Holder, or even worse, Barack Obama. I remember she said that he would make a wonderful justice, and together they would have torn the Second Amendment to shreds in no time. That's what was at stake last year. Not hyperbole, not fake news, the truth. But that's not what happened. Instead, you accomplished a monumental victory for American freedom. Just weeks after Inauguration Day, President Trump made good on his promise to appoint a constitutionally sound Supreme Court justice. The media and the anti-gun left threw up, and then threw up literally every roadblock they could. But we had his back once again, running ads like this one in key states. Please take a look.
Joe Donnelly talks a good game on gun rights.
I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment.
But Donnelly voted for Barack Obama's gun control. Now Donnelly has another chance, and your freedom is on the line. Tell Joe Donnelly, don't let us down again. Vote to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch. The Indiana Men and Women of the National Rifle Association are responsible for the content of this advertising.
We ran ads like that across the country, and today, Justice Neil Gorsuch sits on the Supreme Court. Thank you. You did that. But keeping with the theme of Indiana, because we have so many Indiana people in the House today, how about Mike Pence as the Vice President of the United States? He's committed to his faith, his family, and the God-given freedoms that make America great. And thanks to you, he's fighting for us every day. Thanks to you, Jeff Sessions runs the Justice Department. As I said yesterday, it's going to take a hazmat suit to clean up that poisoned and politicized disgrace of a legacy left by Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch. But if anyone has the passion and the integrity to restore the rule of law, it's Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Thanks to you. Instead of a tree-hugging, hunter-hating, land-locking bureaucrat running the Department of Interior, we now have Ron Zinke at the helm, a veteran Navy SEAL, an avid hunter, and an NRA Life member. He eliminated Obama's ban on lead ammo on his first day of office. And thanks to you, our enemies truly fear us once again because General James Mad Dog Mattis runs the Department of Defense. Thank you for that one. Folks, this is what we were fought and stood for last year when we supported Donald Trump. But as Wayne said, there's still more to do. It'd be nice if you could drain the swamp just by electing a new president. But after 8 years in office, Obama's got a legacy that'll live on for generations. Just look at the 331 federal judges he appointed for life, or the thousands of bureaucrats he hired, and the endless rules and regulations they impose on every aspect of our life. With Washington's bureaucratic machine teaming up to resist Trump at every turn, our president's going to need us to have his back, and we're going to need him to have us too. Because Michael Bloomberg's back with his billions. 2 weeks ago, Bloomberg vowed to spend $25 million to defeat pro-gun leaders in next year's midterm elections. Meanwhile, Bloomberg and his anti-gun allies are doing all they can to sabotage important pro-gun federal reforms like right-to-carry reciprocity. You know, it's easy to forget, but 30 years ago, only a handful of states honored right-to-carry. Today, it's in force in one way or another in almost every state. But that simply isn't good enough. Folks, it's a sorry state of affairs when 10 states can deny constitutional freedom to law-abiding American citizens. But that's exactly what's happened. And innocent, well-meaning people have gone to jail and had their lives turned upside down at the hands of states like New Jersey, where the Second Amendment freedom is criminalized. That's what we're fighting to fix with national right-to-carry reciprocity. But unlike a driver's license, it wouldn't impose federal guidelines or allow for any federal control at all. It simply says that if you have the right to carry in your home state, then you ought to have the same right to keep and bear arms in the rest of America. This freedom makes a life or death difference in innocent people's lives. It isn't just illegal for states to deny it, it's downright immoral, and it needs to change. But for that to happen, it will take the same intensity and moral purpose that we all brought to last year's election. But we can and we will make Congress pass national right to carry reciprocity. That's a huge priority, but it isn't the only one. Now, it's not often that I'll give Europe credit on gun rights, but when it comes to suppressors, they actually get it. Your hearing's too important to be hidden behind a $200 federal tax, fingerprints, and a 9 to 12-month paper chase. When it comes to loud machinery, loud cars, or loud music, if there's even a marginal benefit to protect someone's hearing, we make it available, except for the loudest of all, firearms. All you have to do is go to a range or a hunting camp and ask one of the older folks there just a question, and the answer is always, what, huh? You've seen it. There's simply no reasonable argument against it. But there's a whole lot of dishonesty, ignorance, and flat-out lies. If we're going to fight through it, each of us has to do our part. Just recently, I saw U.S. Senator Kristen Gillibrand say, when someone gets shot by a gun with a silencer, it's quiet, witnesses might not hear, and police will be less likely to track down the shooter. I have a message to Senator. I'll meet you at the NRA range anytime you'd like. I'll bring my 300 Win Mag with a suppressor, and I'll let you set up safely behind me. And for every round I shoot before you start crying with no hearing protection on, I'll donate $100 to charity. Fair deal? As much as we wish it weren't the case, too many people get their firearms facts from the New York Times and MSNBC instead of American Rifleman and NRA TV. If we don't make it our job to get the truth out, the lies become overwhelming. Folks, we're the most powerful civil rights organization in American history because we fight with a passion, a principle, and an honesty our opponents simply can't match. And we're growing stronger every day because we have women like Jessica Jordy, Kim Corbin, and Christy McMains. They represent the very best of the NRA. They aren't celebrities, and they certainly aren't in it for the fame. They're fighting for their lives and the lives of women everywhere. Each has a story to tell. 11 years ago, Kim was raped in her home near a college campus. She swore on that day that she will never be defenseless again. She'll be like Christy, who was attacked in a dark parking garage. He thought she was an easy target. He drew an 8-inch knife and moved in to stab her. But Christy drew a pistol, and that bastard didn't have a chance. Jessica knows that what happened to Christy is a real important part of life. So she was courageous enough to stand up to a candidate for the U.S. Senate on behalf of the self-defense rights of women everywhere. In the heat of one of the most contentious elections in American history, these 3 NRA members put their names, their faces, and their reputations on the line to defend freedom. For doing so, they endured hateful, vicious attacks on social media from cowards behind anonymous profiles. But they never, ever back down because they speak on behalf of millions of women like them, women who've endured violent attacks, women who deserve every last opportunity to defend themselves. They're fighting for future generations and for this country. Their fearless advocacy is the very essence of the American spirit and the heart of the National Rifle Association. They were with us every day during the election, and they're with us today. Jessica, Kim, Christy, please stand up and let us all thank you. We will never let you down. Friends, from the bottom of my heart, there's no place I'd rather be and no people in the world I'd rather fight beside. You are the most committed, most principled, and most worthy group of modern-day patriots, and I am truly humbled to serve on your behalf. As I said yesterday, I don't care if we're the only people in the arena. I don't care who we're up against. I don't care how lonely it gets or how tough it gets. We will never stop fighting for this country and this freedom. And if we stick together, there's nothing we can't achieve, no enemy we can't defeat, and no battle we can't win. Let us vow on this day that November was more than a temporary moment. It was a permanent political red line for every would-be holder of power. If you run against the Second Amendment freedom of everyday American citizens, you put your future in direct opposition to the most powerful grassroots force in history. We are the National Rifle Association of America, and we are, now and forever, freedom's safest place. Thank you, and God bless this organization.